20 years ago, India gave its rural poor a promise, not of charity, but of dignity, the right to work. And it was realized through MGNREGA Act 2005. Today, this act is 20 years old. This promise is 20 years old. And it is a right time to reflect whether this scheme, whether the act is a success or failure. Whether it has truly touched the lives of rural Indians or it was just a temporary relief. Hello friends, my name is Uttam Kumar Verma and you're watching StudyIQ English channel. So let's start. So launched with positive intent, it was initially for 200 backward districts of rural India, which was later expanded to all over rural India. It was introduced in 2005 and which was later covering to all the rural India. Now, unlike any other political unlike any welfare scheme, this was not just a political announcement, but it was backed by a law. It was backed by a statute called as MGNREGA Act 2005. MGNREGA Act 2005. And it derives its authority from the Constitution. It derives its authority from Article 1, which talks about right to work. So it shows the Constitution makers wanted to provide right to work in some form. It shows that the ideals of Constitution, which is rooted in welfare state, talks about right to work, to provide a decent livelihood, to provide a decent work. Now, it is world's largest social security net, and it has truly impacted the rural Indians with roughly touching to 15 crore rural households, which is translating to around 60 to 70,000, which translates to 60 to 70 crore people. Now, it provides 100 days of guaranteed unskilled work for every rural household. So if you demand work from government must provide that work. So it also provides right to demand work from state or government. And if the government fails to provide work, it will provide compensation, and it was guaranteed by a statute or act. Now, here are some of the objectives of MGNREGA Act. The first was employment guarantee. It is guaranteeing minimum 100 days of work. What kind of work? Rural unskilled work. So that every rural population can participate in this scheme. It provides for rural development because MGNREGA has a physical labor work, and it has helped in the creation of assets like ponds, like small lakes, like rural roads, like plantations, which has helped in ramping up of rural infrastructure. It has led to demand-driven. It is demand-driven scheme where people demand work from state and state has to provide work, and if not, then compensation. It has a provision for women's participation where 1/3 of the women should be participating. It is the mandate. It has also helped in the improvement of labor force participation rate of the rural women. It has empowered women. Next is transparency and accountability. It has provision of social audit where people or beneficiaries who are involved in the act are seeking transparency and accountability from state through social audits. Next, it has electronic fund management where state provides you wages or payments through direct benefit transfer, and there is no middleman involved, no corruption involved, no leakages involved. So here are some of the objectives. It has led or translated into achievements. that it has reached over 6 crore households within a year. But if we talk about overall, it has touched 70 crore population in India, especially in rural areas. It has spent of it has led to 8 plus lakh crore of funds spent in rural areas, which has amped up rural development or rural assets. It has increased women participation rate, where the mandated women participation was 33% versus in reality the women are participating around 54%, which is huge. So it has increased rural women labor force participation rate, which is translating to women empowerment because it is making them financially independent. The scheduled caste and scheduled tribe share is also increasing in MGNREGA. So it is also giving them empowerment by making them financially independent, by making them socially independent, by increasing their social status. So it is around 25%. It has created rural assets like roads, like plantations, like ponds, like water conservation structures, like check dams. So it has created a rural infrastructure through rural community. So there is sense of ownership within the community to maintain that asset. Now, it has created some direct impact. For example, it has led to reduction in poverty. MGNREGA acts as a cushion in poverty. World Bank 2018 report, there is reduction of 33% of poverty of the participating households. So if 100 households are participating, due to MGNREGA, it is seen that 33 households has seen reduction in poverty, which is a huge thing. Next, it has led to women empowerment, where labor force participation rate in rural areas of women has been increasing. You will see that there is some kind of decline in urban. You will see there is some kind of decline in urban area of women LFPR, but there is increase in the trend in rural areas where LFPR of rural women has improved. Now, when the woman is financially independent, especially in rural areas, the woman is now spending that money in household for nutrition, for health, for education, for skilling, for sanitation. So, making women empowered means household is getting empowered. It has led to creation of productive assets. For example, over 10 million water conservation structures has been made. Especially if you see in Rajasthan, droughts has been tackled by creating small check dams, by creating small ponds. It has also led to increase in aquifer recharge, groundwater recharge. And at last, the direct impact of MGNREGA was seen during COVID, where it created record around 390 crore person days, and it has acted as a social insurance factor. When the world was reeling in COVID, when the industries were shut, these MGNREGA provided a social cushion for rural work. These MGNREGA provide cushion for rural people, for rural livelihood. So it acted as a savior for rural population. It has also created indirect impact, where there is increase in bargaining power of rural population. Now, due to coming of MGNREGA, they can at least bargain from other contractors. If they are giving the wage which is less than mandated NREGA wage, they can bargain better. It has improved their bargaining power. It has improved their economic status, and it has shielded from exploitative wages from contractors. It has boosted local economy. As per one study, every 1 rupees paid in wages in MGNREGA has led to 1.88 rupees added to the rural GDP. Now it has increased demand in rural areas, which is driving consumption and driving economic growth. It has led to climate resilience. For example, the rural assets are also used for afforestation works, for check dams, for water harvesting structures, for traditional water storage structures. For example, Rajasthan's water harvesting system has led to revival of more than 1000 village ponds. So it is a huge thing, and it is promoting green jobs. Now MGNREGA has also Section 17, which mandates social audits, and it is for transparency and accountability of the act, where the community-led checks acts as a pressure on the state and its officials, and it has led to exposing of corruption, exposing of fake attendance or muster rolls, especially in Andhra Pradesh. Now, there are some important case studies. For example, Kudumshree, which is in Kerala, has led to link of NREGA with other activities. For example, NREGA has been linked in organic farming. It has increased exports of organic vegetables. It has led to linkage with Nutri Gardens, which is improving nutrition of the state. It has led to flood rehabilitation. So MGNREGA has been linked with flood rehabilitation. Imagine you can do it in Uttarakhand as well as in Himachal Pradesh, which are flood affected states. It will also provide livelihood to the rural people, fine, those people who are heavily affected by the recent floods. Next, after that, we'll see some criticisms of the NREGA Act. Despite the positive intent, there are some issues within the Act. For example, there are delayed payments. The Act mandates that state has to provide wages within 15 days. But you'll see 25% of the wage payments are exceeding the mandate of 15 days. There is erosion of wage. For example, MGNREGA, the wages are not revised as per market standards. So, MGNREGA wage is sometimes in some states less than the market wage, and it is prevailing in 20 states. So, it is akin to forced labor. There is shortage of funds, where there are issues of mid-year fund exhaustion, which is leading to halt in the works, which is leading to halt in the creation of assets, especially in rural areas. And it is seen in Hindi belts. Now, MGNREGA, which is an unskilled work program, has led to creation of poor assets, where it is seen that many ponds, roads are built over time, has been seen erosion, has been seen ponds are silted, roads are damaged within 2 or 3 years. So the assets which are made in MGNREGA are of poor quality. Next, there is issue of corruption and leakages within the Act. Issues of fake job cards, issues of ghost workers, issues of inflated work management, issues of inflated work measurement exist in MGNREGA. Then there is structural limit, because it is a temporary relief and it only provides for 100 days of guaranteed work. It do not provide, or it do not address long-term employment strategy. So it do not address long-term unemployment in rural India. So it cannot tackle distress out migration from rural India to urban India in a long term. It also creates risk of dependency, because households are just relying on MGNREGA rather than seeking skilled work, rather than creating incentives for skilling. It has also created, there is center-state tussle, where the friction between center and states has led to halt in the implementation of scheme. For example, case of West Bengal, where MGNREGA is suspended for 2 years. Now, you can see one case study of Jharkhand. Whenever there is delay in payments, whenever there is delay in wages, it is seen that out-migration starts from rural India. Out-migration starts from rural India to those industries. For example, workers migrating to brick kilns and tea gardens in Bengal and Assam for their own survival. So there are issues in implementation which is leading to the failure of scheme and leading to out migration. Now, what further needs to be done? So we need to see that MGNREGA should be utilized as green transition tool. It is a time now that we should link it with the SDG goals. We should link with the climate justice goals so that more green jobs could be created. For example, linking MGNREGA with PM Kusum would create green jobs. Now, we also need to create a national framework to link MGNREGA with the rural industrial clusters so that there is productive asset creation in the rural areas. Now, after the success of MGNREGA, there is a demand to tackle urban poverty, to tackle urban inequality. We need to expand MGNREGA to urban areas. There is a demand for urban job guarantee program. Next, there is a need for skill upgradation gap where the workers in MGNREGA have to transition into higher productivity jobs. They cannot be trapped in the low productivity jobs. So the question arises whether this scheme, whether the MGNREGA is a success or failure. Now, if I talk about reach, if we talk about reach of MGNREGA, it is a success. If we talk about tackling rural distress in a short term, it is a success. If I talk about rural women force participation rate, it is a success. But do we need But if we talk about assets being created, it is a failure because the quality is not good. If I talk about long-term unemployment issue, it is a failure. It is not a success. And India of 21st century needs empowered work. India of 21st century needs relevant skill. India of 21st century needs quality work. So it is a time now to rethink on that and upgrade MGNREGA and provide reforms so that the issues within MGNREGA are being handled as well as there is right to quality work. There is right to relevant skilling. So the way forward is we need to raise wages at first. We need to also tackle the issues of delayed payments. We need to link it with the climate resilient works. For example, drought proofing technologies should be used. We need to ensure that agroforestry and MGNREGA has some linkages. We need to ensure that it has linkages with renewable energy assets like solar energy, wind energy. Now, we need to also strengthen transparency framework under social audit so that corruptions can be tackled, so that there is no diversion of funds, so that accountability can be enforced. And at last, the question before you is imagine you are program director of MGNREGA. So what one impactful change would you bring in MGNREGA if you have to design next 20 years of MGNREGA scheme? So tell us in comments below.